Hello students, in the last class we spoke about the law of diminishing marginal utility. What is law of diminishing marginal utility? Let me just give you a quick recap to it. As and when the consumer goes on consuming the units of a commodity, the marginal utility that he derives with every additional unit goes on diminishing. This was the meaning of the law of diminishing marginal utility. It was assumed that the in this case marginal utility could be measured in numbers. Alfred Marshall is one of the person who says that let marginal utility be measured in numbers. So based on this assumption, we studied the law of diminishing marginal utility. um, Diminishing means to decrease, marginal means with every additional unit, and utility means the want satisfying power of a commodity. So we have studied this law. Now addition to this law is your law of equimarginal utility. What is law of equimarginal utility? Okay, so that is what we are going to study today. What happens in real life is we do not buy only one commodity. Okay, law of diminishing marginal utility assumes that we are going to buy only one commodity and we are going to test this law only on one commodity. However, in real life it does not happen. In real life you buy multiple goods and all multiple goods have different prices. Okay, so now the question is, how is the consumer going to understand that how many goods he should buy of each commodity in order to achieve maximum level of satisfaction? Therefore this law of equimarginal utility is also called as law of maximum satisfaction. It is also called as, it is also the Gauss's second law. Okay, so this law is a little bit complicated. It is the extension of law of diminishing marginal utility. You in before I start this session, before I tell you what is this law in detail, you have to understand that in law of diminishing marginal utility we had one product and we were testing the marginal utility of this products, different commodities. How is the marginal utility, whether it is diminishing, whether it is increasing, and we end up concluding that as the consumer is going on consuming every unit of that commodity. Say for example, we took the example of chocolate, a big chocolate, a proper big chocolate. So say for example, if a consumer is consuming 300 grams of chocolate, with every 300 grams of chocolate, what is happening to his utility? Okay, so the utility is going on decreasing. This was the conclusion that we derived for DMU. So there were two columns. However, in this case, we are going to check with multiple goods, that if there are multiple goods given to a consumer at different prices and he has X amount of income, how is he going to spend this X amount of income on different goods, on good A, good B, good C, good D, which are priced at different prices and achieve maximum level of satisfaction? That is also called as consumer equilibrium. Okay, so it is the extension of law of diminishing marginal utility. It explains the behavior of consumer distributing his limited income among various goods and services to maximize his satisfaction. So the consumer is spending on different goods and considering these different goods at different prices, he is trying to achieve maximum level of satisfaction. He is trying to get maximum utility from these products that he is buying. Law of DMU focuses on single good. Like I told you, only one good is considered in the case of law of DMU, but this does not happen in the real life. In the real life, the consumer is purchasing different types of goods. So the law of DMU focuses only on single good, whereas law of equimarginal utility focuses on multiple goods. Okay, now let us look at the definition. The definition given by Marshall says that if a person has a thing which he can put to several uses, he will distribute it among these users in such a way that he has the same marginal utility. So whatever marginal utility I get from product A should be equal to whatever marginal utility I get from product B should be equal to whatever marginal utility I get from product C, and all of these marginal utilities should give me the same level of satisfaction. All of these products that I am consuming should give me a same level of satisfaction. So to imagine this is obviously tough, but when we see the schedule of this, you will understand in much better way. Okay, there is another famous author who is Paul Samuelson. He says that a customer gets maximum satisfaction when the ratio of marginal utility of all goods and their prices are equal. So marginal utility of product 1 upon price of 1 is equals to marginal utility of product 2 upon price of 2 is equals to marginal utility of product 3 upon price of 3. Say for example, this product that you want to consider, one is chocolate, the other one is ice cream, the third one could be bread. Okay, so chocolate, bread and ice cream. So the ratio of the marginal utility upon the price will be equal to the marginal utility of product 2 upon the price will be equal to the marginal utility of product 3 upon the price. This is what they want to derive. Okay, now let us understand there are certain assumptions this law is based on. Okay, in microeconomics all the laws are based on certain assumptions, like we studied the concept of ceteris paribus, wherein all the laws says that other things being constant, keep other things constant and study one thing at a time. So what are the considerations that this law is not taking into account? So let these things be into let these things remain constant. What is the first one? The wants of the consumers remain unchanged. So the consumer should not uh, change his wants. If he wants to test on ice cream, chocolate and bread, he should stick to that. He should not suddenly change into a different type of a product. Why? Because we are testing this law. We are trying to understand this law. So let the wants of the consumer remain unchanged. The second one that they say is consumer has fixed income. Let the consumer have X amount of income. With this X amount of income, we will see how to distribute it on different types of goods so that we achieve maximum satisfaction. So the income needs to remain fixed. The third one they say is price of all goods are given and known to a consumer. Now, the marginal utility upon the price is the ratio that we have to study for every type of product. So whether it is product A, product B and product C. So for all three types of products, we need to know the price of all three products. Why? Because we are going to put them in the formula and find out the ratio. Therefore, you should tell the consumer what is the price. First thing. Second thing, with only when he knows the price of the product, he is going to distribute his X amount of income on these types of goods. The consumer is one of the many buyers in the sense that he is powerless to alter the market price. Very important. That means he cannot negotiate on the price. That, sir, I bought 1 unit of this product for you. Now I'm buying the second unit. Please change the price. Now I'm buying the third unit. Please change the price. So he cannot tell the seller to modify the prices. The prices in the market of these goods remain fixed. He cannot change the prices of these goods. This is the fourth assumption. The fifth is the consumer can spend all his income in small amounts. So he will not, supposing a consumer is earning 100 rupees per month, he cannot spend all this 100 in one shot. He will spend this 100 on some amount on good A, some amount on good B and some amount on good C. So slowly he will spend on different types of goods. The next one is consumer acts rational, in the sense he wants to maximize his satisfaction. So the consumer is in his senses, he wants to maximize his satisfaction, should be the main objective of the consumer. Only when this is the main objective, yes, we can achieve this law, we can study this law in detail. And the next is utility can be measured in numbers. It can be cardinally measured. Cardinally measured means it can be measured in numbers. So these are around 3, 6, 7 assumptions that you need to know. Income remains fixed. Okay. Then his wants do not change. His want remain fixed. Prices of all goods are known to him. Consumer is one of the many buyers, so he cannot influence the price, he cannot alter the price. The consumer can spend all his income in small amounts. The consumer acts rationally, in which means his major objective is to satisfy himself, maximize his satisfaction. And last is the utility that he is going to derive from every product can be measured in numbers. So these are certain assumptions that you need to know before I proceed to the law explanation. Now let us look at this schedule in detail. I told you that in economics we do not call table, we call it as schedule. So let us look at the schedule. You have been given units and you have been given two products and you have been given the income of the consumer and you have been given the prices of these two products. So this is the information which is given to you. How much is the income of the consumer? The income of the consumer is rupees 100. Okay. What is the price of product A? The price of product is 20. And what is the price of product B? The price of product B is rupees 10. So these are different prices. The product A is apples, product B is banana. Now he has to buy these two different goods and maximize his satisfaction according to the law of equimarginal utility. So what will the consumer do? Let us see now. Now we have been given as the first column to be units. So units are increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have been given as the marginal utility of apples and we have been given the marginal utility of bananas. Usually what happens in case of law of diminishing marginal utility, as in when the consumer goes on consuming the units of a same product, the marginal utility will tend to decline. So in this case, if you see at the first unit, the utility that you are getting is 10. When he is buying the second unit, the utility that you are getting is 8. Third utility that he is getting is 6, 4, 4, 5, 2. So the utility is going on diminishing. Okay, so this is what is the law of DMU. Let's see for bananas. Even for bananas, as in when he is going on increasing the units of the product, the utility that he is getting is going on decreasing. Okay, now let us see where is the equating, which are the equating numbers. So if you see in the first case it is 10 and 10, and in the second it is 6 and 6, and there is also 8 and 8. So these are certain equating numbers that you are getting. Now, so the first step what you will do is you will draw a schedule. The second step is what you will do is you will find which are the numbers which are same in both the columns. So in both the columns we have got, in this example we have taken two numbers to be same, which is 10 and 6. Now you have to remember that the consumer has X amount of income, which is in this case it is 100 rupees. He has to spend this entire 100 rupees. I repeat, he has to spend this entire 100 rupees so that he maximizes his satisfaction. So in the first case, if you consider he is buying one unit, okay, which is priced at 20. So one unit of apple which is priced at 20, which is giving me 20 rupees. Okay, so he has spent 20 rupees. Then he again, we are considering just for 10, 10, 10, which is equating in both the columns. Then he is buying 2 units of bananas which is priced at 10 rupees. So that becomes 2 into 10, which is 2 into 10, which is again 20 rupees. So this is wrong over here, it is again 20. So which means he is just spending 20 and 20. He is just spending 40 rupees over here. Okay, so the total spending that he is doing is 40 rupees. So but he has 100 rupees, he has to spend the entire 100 rupees. In the second case, if you see, he has in the where it is becoming 6 and 6, let us take that example. So 3 units, 3 into 20 is going to give me 60. Okay, and he is spending 4 units of, he's buying 4 units of banana, so 4 into 10 is going to give me 40. So 60 plus 40 is 100. Okay, so now he is spending his entire 100 rupees. If I consider this where it is becoming 8 and 8, so 2 into 20 is 40 and 3 into 10 is 30. So again 2 into 20, for 70 rupees he's spending. Again it is not giving me the number of 100, which means he is not spending his entire income. So where is he spending his entire income? He is spending his entire income in the case of 3 units of apples and 4 units of bananas. So I, as a consumer, how will I understand that how much I should spend? So I will understand with the help of this schedule that I should buy 3 units of apples and 4 units of bananas in order to maximize my satisfaction. Okay. Now what is the importance of the law? The importance of the law is with perspective to different aspects. Okay, first is with perspective to consumer. So a consumer will understand how much he should consume, how many units of product A and how many units of product B he should consume so that he maximizes his satisfaction. Second is regarding production. Of production, a producer needs to understand how many units of products I should make and sell in the market so that I try to achieve the equilibrium of demand and supply. Okay, so it is important for production. It is important for exchange. Exchange, how much money will I be spending to buy X amount of goods. Okay, so how much money will I require as a consumer? How much money will I require to spend for product A, for product B, for product C, and so on and so forth. Distribution, it talks about the distribution of different goods. That means I, as a producer, how should I make my distribution facility so that all the consumers get their desired goods and get the maximum satisfaction from these goods. Okay, next is about public finance. The government will understand how should we keep our taxation policies so that the consumers have the disposable income to spend in an economy so that they achieve satisfaction. Okay, so if the government increases the tax rate, the disposable income that is going to be left with the consumer is going to be less. If the consumer, if the government decreases the tax slab, then the disposable income that is left is going to be more. So the government also has to again achieve an equilibrium so that the consumer has proper amount of disposable income which he can spend and he can buy different types of goods. Distribution of income, distribution of income between saving and consumption. So how will you distribute as a consumer? How will I distribute my income so that I maximize my satisfaction by buying different types of goods as well as I do savings? Okay, because we as consumers, we do not spend the entire income that we have. When the income is greater, then what we usually do is we greater than our expenditure, then what we usually do is we save. So income minus expenditure is savings. So if income is greater than our expenditure, we will save. Higher the income than the expenditure, higher would the savings happen. So consumer will understand how much I have to save and how much I have to spend on different types of good. Then optimum distribution of commodities. Now you saw in the previous example, the consumer got a very clear picture how many units of bananas I should buy and how many units of apples I should buy so that I get maximum amount of satisfaction. This happens only because of this law, only with this law. Now in this case we just took a hypothetical example of apples and bananas. There could be so many goods that could be considered. I as a consumer, I buy 100 goods. So how do I spend on these 100 goods and maximize my satisfaction? Distribution of assets. How do I spend on these different types of goods and maximize my satisfaction? Assets is nothing in this case, it is your income. So how you spend this income and maximize your satisfaction. So this law is important with consumption perspective, production, exchange, distribution, public finance, income, distribution of income between savings and consumption, distribution, optimum distribution of commodities, and distribution of assets. These are the importance of the law. Now, every law faces some kind of criticism. So what is the criticism that this law faces? There are around 3, 6, 9, 10 and 11 criticisms of the law which you have to understand. In the exam you might get a question of what is law of equimarginal utility, explain and state the criticisms of the law. So you have to understand that. You will draw the diagram compulsory, you will explain, you will make the schedule, you will explain the schedule, and you will also explain what are the criticisms of the law. So the very first criticism is the consumers are not fully rational. What happens is usually we as Indian consumers, we tend to save more and try to reduce our expenditures. Okay, so we can compromise on the satisfaction, but we do not wish to spend beyond a point. So not all consumers think of not all the consumers think of maximizing their satisfaction. Consumers is not calculating. Now it is very difficult for me as a consumer to understand, okay, 3 units are going to give me so much of utils and 4 units are going to give me so much of utils. So I'm not in a position to calculate the utility. Utility is a psychological concept. It is not a numerical concept wherein you can calculate in numbers. It is a psychological concept. It differs from person to person. So consumer does not know how to calculate the utility that he derives from different commodities. Then there could be shortage of goods. Even though I as a consumer, I want 5 units of a product. So say for example, because of the pandemic there is shortage, there are only 3 units available. I may not get those 2 units and therefore I might not maximize my satisfaction. So shortage of the goods could be a drawback again. There could be influence of fashion, custom and habits. Say for example, I am measuring it on ice creams. Okay, so I like the ice cream which is Cornetto. So I'm measuring it on Cornetto ice cream. One of the product is Cornetto ice cream. But now the new trend which has come is of those tawa ice creams. So that's a new trend which has come. So that could influence my buying behavior. Instead of buying Cornettos, I would rather shift. Now I have influence of taste, so I have shifted my taste to some other type of ice creams. So because of the influence of fashions, customs and habits, it could affect the law. The consumer might shift his wants, and shift his wants will nullify the first assumption which we just studied some time back. Ignorance of the consumer might be ignorant of the price. The price would be XYZ and he is paying some ABC price for that product. So because of the ignorance of the consumer, because of the no knowledge of the consumer does not have the market knowledge, he might not pass in this law. He might not get the benefits, the proper conclusion of this law. Indivisibility of goods. There are some goods which are indivisible. You cannot divide such goods. Okay, then there could be again a problem. of such type of a good. Say for example, when you talk about electricity, you are using electricity for all types of goods. You're using it for fridge, you're using it for TV, AC, all types of goods. Then it becomes very difficult for me to measure the utility for specific type of goods. Okay, then constant income and price. The consumer has said to have constant income. Okay, so his income does not change. That is one of the assumptions. It's very difficult. The income of the consumer might be fluctuative. Then this law will fail. And the prices of the products are also fluctuative in the market, so again this law will fail. So in this case it will not stand true. Indefinite budget period. The period that we are studying for is not precise, is not given. Then again this law might fail. And cardinal utility measurement is not possible. Like I told you, utility is a psychological concept. You cannot measure it in numbers, but this law says that please measure utility in numbers. So again this law is failing. Change in the marginal utility of money. When the this says that every rupee that you are spending on different types of commodities is giving you the same utility, which is not true. Okay, and it does not work in case of complementary goods. Say for example, you're buying goods together. Complementary goods are those goods wherein one good is incomplete without the other. If I buy a car, I have to buy petrol. If I buy a pen, I obviously have to buy the refill of that pen. So these are called as complementary goods. Now these goods are very difficult to study in case of your law of equimarginal utility. So these are certain criticisms of the law in which your law does not work properly. Okay, one is consumers are not fully rational. Consumers are not calculating. Shortage of goods, influence of fashion, customs and habits, ignorance of the consumer, indivisibility of goods, constant income and price, indefinite budget period, cardinal measurement of utility is not possible, change in marginal utility of money, and complementary goods. So these are certain drawbacks of the law. Let me just give you a quick recap of what we studied. We studied the extension of law of DMU. The extension of law of DMU is called as law of equimarginal utility. It is also called as law of maximum satisfaction. It is also the Gausson's second law. Gausson is one of the economist who has given several laws. His second law is law of equimarginal utility. Okay, there are different definitions which are given to you. We study this law when we are not buying one good, when we are buying multiple goods. In case of law of DMU, we were buying only one good. So that's understandable, but in this case, in real life, we do not end up buying one good, we buy multiple goods. Then we studied about the assumptions, certain assumptions like the wants of the consumer remain unchanged, his income remains fixed, the prices are known to him, he cannot influence on the prices, the consumer has to spend all his income in small pieces, okay, small amounts, then he is rational, and utility can be measured cardinally. These were the assumptions of the law. Then I told you about how to understand. If you do not have to learn this table, please don't do that. Do not learn the schedule. Do what is, understand it. Once you understand it, you can make your own schedule in the examination. Okay, you can make your own kind of analysis. You can write in the first column units, marginal utility of product A, marginal utility of product B. If you wish to add marginal utility of product C also, you can do. You can do it for 3, 4, 5, how many ever products you want. Just be careful with the numbers. Bear in mind, first thing is you have to decrease the marginal utility with every additional unit. Why? Because that's the law of DMU. Once that happens, you see where you are getting equating numbers. Wherever you're getting equating numbers, you take them. Accordingly, you see whether the entire income is spent or not. Not less, not more should be possible. Whatever is the income given to you, if you're assuming 100 rupees is the income, the entire 100 rupees should be spent so that the law stands true. Okay, where is this law important? This law is important in multiple aspects like your consumption, production, exchange, distribution, public finance, distribution of income and savings. All of this we studied in detail. And what are the drawbacks of the law? So this was the law of equimarginal utility. In the next session, we'll continue with the further topics. Thank you, everybody.